The sun was setting, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink as I stood in my garden, the one place where I always found peace. But today, the tranquility was shattered by the weight of a secret that had been growing as stealthily as the ivy along my garden wall. I felt his eyes on me, a gaze so intense it could unravel the very fabric of my carefully curated life. As I turned, my heart skipped a beat, for there he was, Alex, my stepson, his presence as unsettling as it was undeniable. And in that moment, with the garden hose slipping from my grasp, I knew something was about to change forever. The sun hangs low in the sky, casting long shadows across the neatly trimmed lawn. I'm out here again, my hands wrapped around the cool metal of the garden hose, the water flowing in a rhythmic dance over my flowers. Each droplet seems to carry a story, a life of its own, much like the one I've been living. Kate, they call me. 52 years old, and I've crafted a life that looks like it's been pulled from the pages of a home decor magazine. My garden, my sanctuary, where every petal and leaf is placed with intention. Richard, my husband, is at work, his presence as predictable as the seasons. His son Alex has been staying with us, his brooding charm a stark contrast to the tranquility of our home. I glance up and there he is, Alex, watching me from the porch. His eyes, dark and intense, meet mine, and for a moment, time seems to slow. There's something in that look, a silent conversation, a shared secret that neither of us has voiced. It's not just the curiosity of a stepson for his stepmother. It's something deeper, something unspoken that stirs within me. I've always been the epitome of domestic bliss, the woman who finds joy in the mundane, in the routine. But today, as the water from the hose kisses the earth, I feel the weight of my life, the routine pressing down, a silent scream for something more, something I've never dared to name. The garden hose slips from my grasp, landing with a soft thud on the grass. Alex stands, his movements deliberate, as he steps off the porch, his gaze never leaving mine. There's an undeniable tension between us. The next morning, I find myself more aware of Alex's presence than ever before. As I move through the kitchen, preparing breakfast, I can feel his eyes on me, not with the casual indifference of a stepson, but with a curiosity that stirs something deep within me. He compliments the garden, his voice low and sincere. "Kate, the garden looks absolutely beautiful today. You've really outdone yourself." A flutter of flattery and confusion washes over me. I thank him, my voice a little too soft, a little too warm. "Thank you, Alex. It's nice to hear that." Later, as I'm out in the garden, pruning my roses, I hear the crunch of footsteps on the gravel path. Alex joins me, offering his help. "Let me give you a hand with that," he says, his voice close, too close. Our hands brush as we work, and I feel an electric charge, a jolt that runs through me. I dismiss it as my imagination, but the sensation lingers, like the echo of a forbidden whisper. We talk about mundane things, the weather, the flowers, the birds. Yet, beneath the surface, there's an undercurrent, a tension that's both thrilling and terrifying. I catch myself stealing glances at him, his strong hands, his focused expression. There's something unspoken between us, something that feels like it's been growing in the shadows of my garden, nurtured by every shared look, every accidental touch. I wonder if I should confront these new feelings, or if it's safer to let them grow in the shadows, hidden among the roses and the ivy. The garden, my sanctuary, now feels like a stage one evening, as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire. I find myself alone in the garden. The air is thick with the scent of blooming flowers, and the world seems to quiet down, as if holding its breath. I'm lost in the beauty of it all when I feel a presence behind me. I turn, startled, and there he is, Alex. His approach was silent, almost ghostly, and now he stands so close I can feel the warmth of his breath. Our eyes lock, and in that moment, time itself seems to slow. There's an intensity in his gaze, a question hanging in the air, unspoken yet palpable. Without a word, he steps closer, his lips brushing against mine in a kiss that feels like both a question and an answer. It's a kiss that isn't just a kiss. It's a forbidden promise, a spark. In the darkness of my routine life, that night marks the beginning of our secret. Under the cover of darkness, in the garden where whispers replace the silence, our affair blooms. Each encounter is like a dance, our movements choreographed by the shadows. Alex's touch sends shivers down my spine, igniting a fire I thought had long been extinguished by the monotony of my days. I tell myself it's just a phase, a fleeting escape. But as the days turn into nights, and our meetings become more frequent, more daring, I realize this isn't just a momentary lapse. Each touch, each whispered word, feels like a rebellion against the life I've built, a life so perfectly curated that it suffocates me. The thrill of the forbidden, the guilt of betrayal, they mix in a cocktail that makes me feel alive, truly alive. Yet, with each stolen moment, the weight of our secret grows heavier. How long can we keep this hidden? What will happen when the truth, like a weed in my perfect garden, surfaces to disrupt the order I've so carefully maintained? The garden, once my sanctuary, now feels like a stage where we perform our clandestine acts, each scene more daring than the last. And as I stand here, the night air cool against my skin, months have passed since that first forbidden kiss in the garden, and my life has become a delicate balance of lies and longing. Each day, I navigate through the mundane with a facade of normalcy, but the strain of my secret affair with Alex shows. My smiles are forced, my laughter hollow, and Richard, ever the attentive husband, senses something amiss. He's been trying to rekindle our connection, his efforts both touching and guilt-inducing. Alex, on the other hand, has grown bolder. His visits to the garden are more frequent, his touches more possessive. There's an intensity in his gaze now, a silent claim that sends shivers down my spine. It's as if he's marking his territory, not just in the garden, but in my heart, where he shouldn't be. One evening, as the sun sets, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Richard decides to surprise me with a romantic dinner in the garden. He's always been thoughtful, and tonight, he's gone all out. The table is set with fine china, candles flicker in the soft evening breeze, and the scent of roses fills the air. I watch from the kitchen window as Richard meticulously arranges everything. His dedication to our relationship, to making things work, tugs at my conscience. But then, as he reaches for a vase to place on the table, he pauses. His hand hovers over a scarf of mine, one I wore during my last encounter with Alex. It's draped over a rose bush, a silent testament to our secret. Suspicion clouds his eyes as he picks up the scarf, examining it. His brow furrows, and for a moment, I see the wheels turning in his mind. He looks around the garden, perhaps searching for signs of something he can't quite grasp. My heart races. Will he confront me about the scarf, or will he wait for more evidence? The tension in the air is palpable, and I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a precipice, waiting to see if Richard will push me over or pull me back. I step outside, my footsteps soft on the grass, my heart pounding in my chest. Richard. I step outside, my footsteps soft on the grass, my heart pounding in my chest. Richard, the dinner looks wonderful, I say, trying to keep my voice steady, but it's no use. The air between us is thick with unspoken questions. Richard's eyes lift from the scarf, meeting mine. There's a storm brewing in his gaze, a mix of confusion and hurt. Kate, where did this scarf come from? His voice is calm, but I can hear the undercurrent of suspicion. I swallow hard, the lie forming on my tongue like a bitter pill. It must have blown off during my gardening, I manage, my voice barely above a whisper. But Richard isn't convinced. His eyes narrow slightly, and I can see he's piecing things together, connecting dots I hoped would remain scattered. Dinner passes in a tense silence, each bite feeling like a betrayal. After we've cleared the plates, we move to the garden, where the night air feels like a confessional. Richard sits beside me, his hand reaching for mine, but there's no warmth in his touch tonight. "Kate," he begins, his voice low, "I've been watching you, and something's not right. This scarf, it's not just about a piece of fabric, is it?" His gaze is piercing, demanding the truth I've been hiding. My heart races, my mind scrambling for another deflection, but the weight of our secret is too heavy. "Richard, I start, but the words fail me. The next day, the confrontation I've dreaded arrives. Richard, with a mix of anger and hurt, corners Alex in the living room. "What's going on, Alex? What's happening with you and Kate?" His voice is loud, echoing off the walls, breaking the usual calm of our home. Alex, caught off guard, looks to me for guidance, but I stand frozen, my feet rooted to the spot. His eyes, those dark, intense eyes, now filled with a mix of fear and guilt, meet mine briefly before he turns back to Richard. "It's true, Dad." Alex's voice breaks, the emotion raw and unfiltered. "Kate and we've been having an affair." The words hang in the air, heavy and undeniable. Richard's face crumples, his eyes reflecting a storm of emotions: betrayal, pain, anger. He looks at me, his gaze like a knife, slicing through the facade I've maintained for so long. The aftermath is chaotic. Richard, devastated, storms out of the house, the door slamming with a finality that echoes through the walls. I'm left alone with Alex, the silence between us filled with the weight of our confession. I feel a mix of relief that the truth is out and despair, knowing the damage it has caused. Alex turns to me, his voice soft, almost pleading. "Kate, I love you. I didn't mean for this to hurt anyone." His confession, while sincere, only deepens the pit in my stomach. I realize then the depth of my betrayal, not just to Richard, but to myself. This wasn't about love, it was about escaping my own discontent, my own dissatisfaction with the life I had so carefully curated. "I'm sorry, Alex," I say, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. This has to end. It was never about love. It was about me running from something I should have faced head on. He looks at me, his eyes searching for something I can't give him. With a heavy heart, I watch him leave, the door closing. Softly this time, a stark contrast to Richard's exit. Hours pass, and Richard returns, his face drawn, his eyes red from tears or anger, I can't tell. We sit in the living room, the space between us vast, filled with the ghosts of our past happiness. "Richard," I begin, my voice barely above a whisper, "I've made a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry." He looks at me, his expression unreadable. "Why, Kate? Why him? Why now?" I take a deep breath, the truth spilling out like water from a broken dam. I was lost, Richard. I felt trapped in our perfect life. I thought I needed something more, something different. But I was wrong. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.